When we were tearing the interior apart to install those power seats, the center console is all damaged up here. You can see that this is the plastic bracket that supports this under here. So it's this console, those 4 bolts, they bolt on here where you see the bolts, and this is all busted out plastic, not very strong. So we're gonna attempt to repair this, and this is kind of a complicated piece here. So what I've come up with was I just made these metal tabs here, and I've got this bolted where it's gonna bolt, and then I've got just this round bar. And what I'm gonna do is I'll use those C-clamps, and I'm gonna hold that on here to get this angle, and I'll weld that down. If you can see in the bottom, there's my other tab, so that's where it's gonna go on the bottom. Tack it on the bottom, tack it on the top here, and then that gets me my angle. Here's our installation holes. Of course, this has to be adjusted, but you could see here with a little movement we can get that lined up. This would be the last thing that we do. Right now what we want to do is we want to tack weld that rod to this plate here and get this angle on all 4 sides. Once we've achieved that, I'll just take the bar like this, and then I'm going to tack it to the flats there. And we can't do anything about this until we kind of loosely install it to find out where that needs to be, and then we can tack our rods for the squareness, I guess, of this thing, right? So we're gonna have a rod there, we'll have a rod here, a rod on the other side. This one we'll have fixed in place, so this will be our starting point. And then hopefully, slow as it goes, we will slowly tack this thing together and get it installed, and then we can reinstall the center console. What we've done is we've kind of assembled it in there and tack welded it in place. Now, admittedly, this is going to have to get cut off around what we've built here, because after we framed it all in, we're going to have to basically cut the plastic away. But it was damaged to begin with, and it was just a template to kind of line things up where it needed to be while we tacked everything together. So here's my inner supports here to my 4 legs, and then the last thing to do will be to set it in place, and then here's my tabs here. So that is going to line up with the hole there. I got 2 of those. And then on the front here, I've got this one. This is a larger hole that slips over top because that's going to be at a greater angle. So that's why that hole's larger, so that you can adjust this angle that it's going to be. We clamped this to the plastic, and then we tacked it on the top there. So we did that on all 4 corners, and then I had on the top piece there, I had a support to hold this and this together. Then on the front here where this was busted, what I did was I tacked one side and then I left the other side free, and then once we installed it, then I basically held this in place with my finger while I give it another tack right there. Now everything's bolted on the other side and everything should be lined up and true. Now here's the other side where you can see that I've bolted everything in place to hold it all together and then tack weld it all. I made these legs longer so it's kind of almost a little bit level while we were constructing this thing, but now we got to trim that off. These legs are longer than those legs there. Now before we destroy this thing, when we got to take it off, we want to make a measurement for where those feet are. In this case here, I'm going to put my straight edge across there. You can see I've made some rough marks and I'm going to slice them off right there. Now you'll see on this one here, it's kind of pretty close, but what I've done is I've set that at 1/2 inch, and then I go off the flat there for 1/2 inch, and I make a mark there and I make a mark there, and you'll see why I've got a 1/2 inch recess in there. Once I've cut the access off there, I'm going to do the same here as well. I'm going to set for my 1/2 inch, and then I'm going to mark it, and then I'll slice it again. So I've got a 1/2 inch recess on all 4 legs. So this is the reason for that 1/2 inch recess. What I've done was I just took a piece of shaft, drilled and tapped the holes in the center for a 1/4 inch, and I put those where our fasteners are going to be. And then as you can see, that's our 1/2 inch stub sticking up off the floor there. So that is why I'm going to recess those legs by 1/2 inch. Again, all that is a piece of shaft that I drilled and tapped 1/4-inch threads, and then it's a through hole on the bottom, so that you can use whatever length of fastener you want really, but you don't need anything larger than 1/2 inch deep to thread into there. And then these are going to be what's going to support our bracket for the shifter mechanism in the console. The legs have been shortened. We've recessed those down 1/2 inch on each one. And now the only thing left to do is cut that plastic piece off around it. It was kind of sacrificial from the beginning. Then we can finish weld whatever spots we missed that we couldn't reach when the plastic was on there. We're fitting in this console here, and we have our bracket that's bolted to the console, and then we want to put that in the right spot. So what we had to do was we had to bolt the back in place here. Now this is all blown out as well. It's busted. I'll show you what I did to fix that, but I basically bolted it here in order to line the whole thing up and then kind of tack weld our feet. So what I did was I reached in there as best I could to put a good tack on all 4 feet down there. If you could see that bolt down in there, I arranged the feet to line up with the leg, the round stock. I had a hole drilled there to line that up, and then I tightened down those bolts so that the tabs would stay in place and everything would be lined up and held secure while I tack welded it all. So what we're going to do is we're going to remove this console, finish weld that, and put everything back together. As you can see now, like in the back, like this is all blown out in the back corner here, but everything is secure now. So we won't have any troubles, nothing will be loose or free floating anymore. Here it is after the console's removed. It is all really solid, so everything is good. What I'm gonna do is I'm going to put some more weld on that before I attempt removing it. And another thing was I had a support in here across the back, and also I'd put one in the front right there, but this stuff was all in the way, so I had to cut that out. But if a person wanted to relocate that support, you could end up putting it underneath this, so then this isn't the problem. But it just happened to line up right with that, and I had to cut it out. We've got the center console here, and right now we're working on the lid. We've removed that right there. So here's our hinge here, and this is the 3 screws that come off to take that off. What I like to do is I get rid of the Phillips and I replace them with the Robertson. Right here is an example of those Phillips screws that we take out of there. I'm going to get rid of these. After I got rid of those, I'm going to replace them with these Robertson screws with the square head on there. And this should be a number 8 1/2 inch fastener is what this is to replace that. Now we take a look at our lid here. We've got the 3 off of the hinge, and the hinge will slide inside there underneath this piece. And then on this side here, we've got these 2 screws here. So here's our problem. This is a common problem with these Jeeps where your catch gets all buggered up. We're gonna see if we can open this up and fix this. So, and sometimes it can be fixed. It's not broken inside, it's just come apart. What we wanna do first is we've got 2 screws here, 1, 2. We're gonna have 3 off of the hinge there, 1, 2, 3. And then we've got 1 right there for this handle on the end here. So we'll remove that one. And then what you wanna do is you wanna flip it over. After you've flipped it over and you've pulled your drawer out, this will come off of here. So it's just glued on there. So you'll have to like work that off of there without breaking it. Now if you see on this side here, my little flapper has been ripped away, and there's the remainder of it there. On this end it still remains, and all it is just got 3 little pins that kind of hold it in place. Once you've removed those 2 things, then you see these hidden screws right here. Now once you've removed those 2 screws right here and here, this will just simply pull off. So there's the 3 screws that held it. You can see those 3 holes there, 1 on the bottom, 2 on the top. Once you've removed the handle off the end there, this whole mechanism is gonna be removed out this way. What you do is you basically lift this end up here, so you've separated it right there, and then you're going to pull the whole thing through. And you might have to play a little bit with this little piece here to get it to come over, and then you'll work at it and you'll pull it through. So I needed 2 hands in order. This little clip here, you've got to work that over top of this edge, and then you can pull that all through, and then it comes right out. You'll see this is the drink holder here, which just slides in these little slots here. So that's just slide back and forth, no problem. It's all one piece here. This is our mechanism for our latch right here. And it's got a pin here, and it's got a pin right there. And what happened is this pin came undone and this spring came out of there. So now there was no more tension, and this is all cockeyed in there and it wasn't working properly. Really all you need to do is you just got to realign your spring on the pin and then reconnect your pin in there. You see where the pin goes in right here? There's on this side. And then here's the pin on this side here. Once you've done that, now you've got a working mechanism again. It's got its tension and its pressure. You lift on that and you release it, and that spring is holding it backwards. That's why it keeps going back. Simple little fix there if you have your lid that's not working properly. Going to take this again, that's slid out, and we're going to slide it in through here. So that's pulled out this way. Again, I'm going to need 2 hands. This clip is going to go over this here. Going to line up our 3 screws, and everything will be back in place. All put back together. We simply got 2 screws here on this side. We have our 1 screw there. When we flip it over, we have our 2 screws here that holds that. This piece here will have to be glued back on. Use some silicone or some glue or whatever. And you'll just kind of click that back into place. And the factory glue is here, here, and here. And this little rubber thing doesn't really require any glue. You can glue it if you want, but basically those 3 pins are going to hold that in place. And then this sandwiches over top and holds it in place like so. Notice that the hinge is going to go inside there, and once that's inside, then you can bolt that back on. And there it is lined up inside. That's where it goes. So there's the 3 screws put back in there. That's all bolted together. We can close that, and the lid is secure, and then you just open the latch like you're supposed to open it. Back to our front cover here, this just pops off. All it is a couple little tabs on either side that go in there. All I'm using here is these Allen head 1/4-inch screws to hold it down. Now this is our old plastic piece, just to show you that it actually fits on there and everything's fine. Admittedly, this one was a little high, so I had to remove just a little bit of material off of the head off of this one. But the other 3 are original fasteners with no material removed, and the top fit on there just fine. And the reason I'm using those is because if you try to use a normal head on there, you can't get a socket on. It's too close to the edges here. Again, when it comes to assembling this piece here for the final assembly, these are the tabs and they're all busted. They broke off of there. So again, you'll have to use some glue or silicone to put all that back together so it'll kind of hold itself together for the final assembly. This inside piece is usually a problem as well. It always gets blown out. It blows out at the hinges here. We've got the plastic is busted. This piece is broken. So this is all compromised up here. Then down in the bottom, that'll blow out too, and then nothing's holding it down there either. Here's a look at the bottom where all the plastic is busted, broken away there. My remedy for that problem is this plate that I built and bent and shaped to fit in the bottom of the console there. The plate fits in, it's all one piece, and those holes, and what I'll do is I'll bolt it down, and again, that's a 1/4-inch faster, because what I did was I drilled and tapped the piece on the floor to accept the 1/4-inch bolt, so everything matches. The only difference being is all the fasteners there are just short ones. So here's the short one there. I'm gonna need a longer one for the bottom of the console and the rear, and then I'll just use some smaller washers. Here's the final assembly here with those seats. These are the ones in the back. Here's the front seats. We have the center console. Everything is finished installed. We can see that our center console is secure. Nothing's loose. Everything is tight. We just have to do a little finish there. As I said before, we're going to need some silicone to kind of assemble this. It assembles in several little pieces. We'll dab that with some silicone as we're assembling it to hold it all together. And then there's one more piece of filler panel underneath this handle here that we've got to install. Find that. And everything is good. Our top is working as it should. It's locked. You pull on the thing, open. So this is all working good again. And we've upgraded the seats to electric seats now.